So everything that you just said so beautifully, stems from the trust that we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like you have said in your recent post, we are now starting to see that we have trusted in many things, many ego make-believe laws and rules and codes, and 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 I think we develop trust and we get more optimistic as we do, and we get more brave to be intuitive, and I'd say as we really trust, we give ourselves the opportunity to go 100% intuitive and 0% analytical, which for many of us, that's a big switch. That's a total flip. Because when I was in university for 10 years, oh my gosh, I was highly analytical and going through problem solving methods and ways, and it was all about attainment of degrees and attainment of worldly knowledge, accumulation of worldly knowledge. And I find that in my 40 years with the course, it's gone the other direction, where it's just really about trust every day, like lighting up in trust like it's a torch. I want to hold a torch out in front. I don't want to look back to my past and try to correct and figure out the past. I want to have the torch. And I think the two sections in the course that are most helpful for me is setting the goal, and then also the rules for decision. They're very much torch out in front sections of the course.
Um, can we talk about rules for decision a little bit?
Yeah, yeah,
It's a beautiful way to start your day.
it sure is. It's the most practical I've ever seen.
Um, and I want to use the word intent, but it's actually different than intent. Uh, there might be a degree of that energy and intent, but after you set that intention, you don't you don't determine I'm going to do whatever it takes to live this day. You let the day go because you've given it to Jesus, to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, the intent I think would be at the beginning, what kind of day do you want? Let's set the intent however you feel it. And then say, if I make no decisions by myself, this is the day that will be given me. So to me, what that means is if I make no decisions by myself, it means when he says in the workbook, try not to make exceptions to the lesson of the day. And then he even says in the introduction that you may not believe these lessons, you may actively resist them, just do them, and the experience will come that when you're doubting, that will show you that they're true. But really, he says, just don't do more than one lesson a day, and as best as you can, try not to make exceptions. So to me, that's like the key in practical application, where you stay with the simple idea of the day, and then, or just even an intent, like a feeling you want to have. I want to feel happy and joyful and peaceful today. And then you just notice where the ego tries to throw up roadblocks and make exceptions to that beautiful intention.
Um, so a lot of people might think, what do we do when life doesn't seem to go our way? If I've set that intention, today I'm going to have a peaceful journey from the moment of waking to the moment I go to bed. And then we can't find a parking spot and traffic is horrible and it's raining and a dog won't go to the bathroom. All these little things. Um, and we think, well, this didn't work.
Yeah, I think honestly, if we look at what Jesus is teaching, is that when we believe in scarcity or lack, that generates in our sleeping mind a whole collection of, I'm just going to call it a hierarchy of needs, and use your example of the parking space. You're in downtown, whatever, fill in the city. You need to go to an appointment that you have. You arrive there and you go up, and there's all these uh, parking lots that have full, 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 and all these little parking spots with meters full, 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 full. The frustration's coming from our need, from our belief in need, because that need, when it arises into consciousness, turns into an expectation. So we could say, I expect to find a parking place. Uh, and I had the intention to have a happy day, and this lack of a parking space is is it's really driving me crazy because I have an expectation of an appointment. So I asked Jesus years ago. I said, I like steps, like 12 steps, and there's a lot of beautiful spiritualities and philosophies with practical steps. So I said, give me steps on what to do. Supposing I'm frustrated about not having a parking space, what do I do? And he says, okay, you perceive that you are not able to get a parking space, but you need one. How do you feel? Okay, I feel frustrated, anxious, a little worried. I'm going to miss my appointment. Okay, what are your thoughts underneath that? Well, that the disappointment is not going to happen, and I'm going to have to reschedule, or I'm going to get yelled at when I walk in late. Okay, what do all these perceptions and feelings and thoughts, what if you jump them all together, what are they reflecting? My belief in lack, which is my belief in a self concept of I'm this person and I have needs and lacks, and right now I need a parking space. but I have other needs too, and they're part of a self concept that Jesus is going to teach me. I have to question inwardly, what is it, what concept, what image of myself am I identified with that's upsetting me? Because you know how Byron Katie will say, what is, you're never upset by what is. And Byron Katie always says, why fight against what is? And just what if we say love is what is? Just to be simple, that I find whenever anything arises, it is trying to be the author of reality and trying to argue with reality. Reality is just love and abundance and joy. And when I get upset, I'm trying to make a case against reality. and and to be right, just to be right, personally right about something like this city should have more parking spaces, or there should something should change, like the workbook lesson for today, that some only God's plan of salvation will work. And then he says in the lesson for the day 71, and you have to accept that all other plans for salvation won't work. And he said, you may get upset at the second one, but that second statement is included in the first, that only God's plan for salvation will work. So to me, I think it's very practical. I always have to take it right back to how am I feeling right now? That's really my touchstone.
Um, and that sort of takes away the frustration of what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
which we don't really know.
Yeah. We don't. I think Jesus is teaching us, I mean, with the first lesson in the book, nothing I see means anything. In one sense, he's teaching us that actually nothing real is happening at all. It's an illusion of a happening. But that doesn't usually help most people. Like, well, it sure seems to be happening, so I'm not going to deny that it seems to be happening. So what I say is, but what if we always have the choice of our interpretation of what we believe is happening? So if the Holy Spirit is with us in the moment and it's pure joy, that interpretation of the Holy Spirit must be available right now. Instead of ego agendas, oh, I want this to happen, and this should be different, and this should be changed. Because Jesus says, in the workbook lesson of today, that the ego says, any person or thing needs to change for me to be happy. And Jesus is saying, no, just change your mind. And that's where the happiness resides, not in people and circumstances and outcomes in linear time. It's just change your mind about your mind, have your intent, your purpose be the most important thing.